We'll resume the meeting. Thank you. This letter, again, is, as we just mentioned during our 5-minute break, the Department of Transportation, New York State Department of Transportation. Thank you for your correspondence regarding the pavement conditions along the state highways in the village of Highland Falls, Orange County. This is to Senator Skoufis and the Thomas McIntyre, Assistant Commissioner, Joe D'Onofrio, and myself were copied. I'm pleased to share that Route 218 from Route 9W to West Point Stony Lonesome Gate, Old State Road from Route 9W to Route 218, and West Point Highway from Route 218 to West Point Stair Gate in the village of Highland Falls. Orange County will be repaved. The repaving project is anticipated to be completed during the construction season of 2022. So it looks like we're going to get all our roads coming into town repaired, and that's a great thing. That was communications, financial reports. I transferred into the Chase paying account, note Chase paying account. We're back with Chase Bank now. $196,354 to cover the check run dated November the 4th. The big items are ACT leasing services, $5,250 for the highway superintendent's truck lease payment. Amchar wholesale, $2,008 for police ammo. Orange and Rockland Utilities, $2,597 for October streetlights. Phase 2 diesel, $3,831 for highway truck number 60. That was repairs to that truck. Ryder, Wiener, and Frankel, $8,488. Legal services. The village of Highland Falls, $160,231 for our water bill, May to October. Any questions on those?
No, sir.
Okay, board liaison reports. Jim, we'll start with you.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Have the monthly results from the ambulance corps as far as calls made, the type of things that we're reporting each month. This past month, it was a little under 95.5%. There were 66 calls during the month of October. 63 were answered, 3 were not answered. 2 of them happened to do with the lack of drivers. And I just wanted to mention that again, that the ambulance corps is in need of volunteer drivers. So that is a very important piece of what the ambulance corps does for the community. Anyone who is remotely interested in becoming a driver for the ambulance corps, please contact the captain of the ambulance corps, Jeff Gathers. Feel free to reach out to me or any member of the ambulance corps. But again, very, very good results for the month of October. If you haven't noticed, up and down Main Street in Highland Falls, the art walk is gone, or just about gone. And I would just like to let everyone know about that, and then also just thank the Chamber of Commerce and everyone who was involved in this year's art walk, getting that back up into the community again. And so just a thank you and congratulations to everyone that was involved with that. There's a new business, another new business in the community. It is Crafty D's Canvas. It's an art studio. It's located on 260 Main Street in Highland Falls. They're going to be having a grand opening this Wednesday, 2 days from today, from 4:30 to 5:30, 6 o'clock, maybe 6:30. But would definitely encourage everyone to stop by and welcome them to the community and see what they're all about. Very, very nice young lady who is running that operation. Had an opportunity to attend the Community Coalition hosted and sponsored by the center in Highland Falls. This was on the 3rd of November. It was announced there that the center is going to be receiving a grant from the county. It's $14,500 right now for the purpose of looking at and working with and developing a program for substance abuse. Lori Tautel, our county legislator, was very instrumental in getting that grant from the county. So it's just another recognition of the good work, the very good work that the center does for the community. There's from the Highland Falls School District, or the Highland Falls Fort Montgomery School District, there's going to be a parent university tomorrow, and hopefully anyone that's interested in that has gotten information about that. If you haven't, contact the school district and they can give you information on it. It's 6:30 p.m. tomorrow evening. They're going to be discussing a number of different things, but associated primarily with cannabis use, vaping, the dangers associated with it. It's at 6:30 p.m. tomorrow at the Highland Falls Intermediate School. And then I believe it's the 17th of November. There is also something else that the school is putting on, dangers of social media. It's going to be primarily, or if not exclusively, for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And I think I've got some other things I'll talk about later, but as far as liaison, that's it for now. Thank you.
Councilman Perry?
Nothing really to report, but just ask the chief if, I know a while back we asked the DOT about a crosswalk down at the bottom of Franklin Street. If you get a chance, if you could just touch base with them and see if they're making any progress, or I think they were going to do a study at first. And
Yeah, and I'm almost going to gather to say it'll be in the next calendar year, but I will make a phone call tomorrow.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That's all.
Councilman Sullivan?
Oh, okay, thank you. So, as usual, I report on the ZBA and the planning. The ZBA meets on the third Wednesday of the month, which will be the 17th. I see Ray is here, who's been on the ZBA. I won't mention how many years, Ray, it's been a long time. But they meet remotely, they have a public hearing, and they have a new application before them that they'll be considering. All the data is online on the website, like I say all the time, and they'll be reading remotely. Anybody wants to participate easily can. Is Jack administrating it, or are you doing, Kelly? Jack's doing it? Okay. The planning will be meeting here the next night, the third Thursday of the month. I know that they closed a public hearing on Pine Hills. I'm not sure what else they have going on. But they'll be meeting here the third Thursday at 7 o'clock as per mask protocol. Now, the sewer plant, I don't have much to talk about, except I didn't get a chance to talk to Kelly about this. Our operator has a town phone that I think he does like I do all the time. He left it on the back of his truck. Is there any,
So I have an iPhone in the office that I just charged up today, and we'll call Verizon tomorrow and see if we can't switch
Okay.
it to him.
I thought maybe I could use my, like, find a phone. I guess if it's not your phone, you can't do
Don't have-
somebody
right,
else's?
Exactly,
Okay.
and he probably didn't have it activated, and the battery has to be charged. So
Okay.
if it got smashed when it fell off the
Yeah.
truck, or we wouldn't be able to
Yeah.
find it. I tried to.
Just so everybody knows, I believe this phone was a hand-me-down from, I think it was from Officer Bailey from his time on the force, so we've had this phone for a long time.
Right, I have another one like that.
Okay.
So that's the one I'm charging.
Okay, and I did get a report from Philip Hanwalt in the building department. He did it yesterday. He came in on Sunday and did this yesterday. For the month of September, there were 17 permit applications received, 15 were issued, 3 certificates of occupancy, 37 building permit inspections. 1 violation notice was issued. It's nice to hear a small number there. 21 municipal searches were completed. 1 zoning variance application was received. 1 planning board application was received. And that's all I have to report on pretty much everything. The Community Environmental Advisory Committee is meeting here on Friday night. We have a guest speaker that's going to be Zooming with us here. We'll be meeting here in person. And that's it.
Thank you, sir. Councilman King?
Good evening, everyone, and good evening, everyone at home. I have a couple of notes here, mostly recreation. First is the holidays are certainly quickly approaching us, and one of the initiatives that the Recreation Director is working on is a holiday Thanksgiving supply giveaway, that is. Right now, he has scheduled for November 18th at 11 a.m., location to be determined. Some supplies to include 15-pound frozen turkey, and there looks to be a minimum of 50 turkeys that'll be available, and then there'll be some other things that go along with that turkey. So contact the Recreation Director, contact the, Mary Jane Pitt, I think, is involved in helping in some way, shape, or form. She can certainly get the information out if there's people out there in need. Secondly, our awesome Recreation Center the Director is also working on an after-school program for children, for youth, that, if possible, will be effective January 2022. Still in the preliminary phases. He's working on it, he's talking, meeting, coordinating, and then hopefully we'll have some good news soon that there'll be a bona fide after-school program for youth. More to follow on that. And then finally, there is a trip on November 26, 2021, that the center is sponsoring, and it's to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, Wind Creek Sands Casino. So if you're interested in that, sign up at the center. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. For the folks at home, when we started the meeting, after the pledge, we had a moment of silence for the passing of former town clerk and former member of the board, Millie Ulrich, who passed away just recently. So that's for the folks that know him at home, just to know that we recognized Millie. She was a very popular person here in town. We have, let's see. Chief, you have something for us.
Yeah, a couple things. A lot less than I had last week, last meeting, I can assure you that. I was just talking with the deputy chief, and I know Mary Jane's aware of this. Last night, our C&D line were both our female officers. Together, first time ever, I think, in the town. Both outstanding women in law enforcement. I was very proud of that, so was the deputy chief, and I think the community should be proud of that as well. Both different backgrounds, and, it was just, it's a breath of fresh air to see something like that, women in policing, and so popular now. And secondly, I know you mentioned about the street light, so I've contacted Orange Rockland. They actually called me back, because I'm not the patron of the home. They had to get permission to give out my cell phone number, which I gave them, so I'm just waiting for the supervisor there to call me back, and then him and I will meet there, and I will be the complainant, but he couldn't do anything until he had permission to use my cell number. So we are working on that, and it was
Okay.
addressed at the last meeting, so I just want to make sure it didn't fall on deaf ears. It's definitely be taken care of. That's really about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kelly, do you have anything?
Yeah, I do. I just wanted to remind the board that this week on Wednesday, we have our fixed asset inventory. So we'll have someone going around to all our locations, which will help with our insurance. And then on Friday, we're switching over to our new phone system. So I want the public to be aware that Friday morning, the phones will be down for some amount of time. I'm not sure, maybe an hour or two here, and then as they go through the other locations. So periodically throughout the day on Friday, there'll be no phone service.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, I have a resolution. Whereas the town board, Town of Highlands, duly held on November the 1st, 2021, commencing at 7 o'clock, a public hearing on the preliminary budget approved by this board and filed with the town clerk for the fiscal year commencing January the 1st, 2022. Whereas the matter of the budget for this town for the upcoming fiscal year having been fully discussed, modified, and considered. I'll ask for a motion to approve the resolution the resolution approving the annual town budget for 2022.
Motion?
Second.
Second?
Can we have one discussion before we
Yes.
vote? So, I'd just like to make a couple of comments that, as I think the public knows, that the board has been working very hard to stay within the 2% tax cap. We're not there. We're over by about $70,000. And I, for one, am very disappointed with that, speaking for myself. I had hoped, and I had made this comment publicly before when we started this process, the goal that I guess I had was to try to keep our taxes flat this year from last year. Seeking new revenues, we were not able to do that. I am certainly a big advocate for trying to do everything we can to reduce taxes and the tax burden on the community. Times Herald Record had an article recently, some of you may have seen that Orange County is the 5th highest property tax county in the state of New York. They talk about, and I went back to the source in which they got that information, Orange County, and I'm quoting here, Orange County has one of the highest medium property taxes in the United States, and it is ranked 24th of the 3,143 counties in order of median property taxes. The average yearly property tax paid by Orange County residents amounts to about 6.5% of their yearly income. Orange County is ranked 25th of the 3,143 counties for property taxes as a percentage of median income. I don't know if that's surprising to anyone, but we are one of the highest tax counties in the country. Something needs to be done about that. I've got some statistics from the Census Bureau. Median value of owner-occupied housing units, 2015 to 2019, for the town of Highlands, $239,300. This is the median value of owner-occupied housing units. For the state of New York, it's $313,700. We're less than the median for the state of New York, is what that is saying. Median selected monthly owner costs without a mortgage, $1,005 for the town of Highlands. For the state of New York, the median value is $772. So we're paying more associated with that. Median gross rent, town of Highlands, $1,948. And again, this is census data. $1,948 for the state of New York, $1,280. Several of you several of you were helping with Aaron and some of the over the past year or so with the food distribution over at the senior center. In talking with him here recently, and I think this was mentioned before, over 100 tons, roughly 225,000 pounds of food were given to our local residents. That's just what Aaron was doing. That's not to count also what Holy Innocents does and also what Sacred Heart does with their food lockers and their food banks. So people are hurting. And I want people to know that I understand that, we understand that. People are hurting and we need to do something about getting control of taxes. So one of the things, and I'm announcing this now, making it public, one of the things, and it is just a small amount, but it's something that I feel very passionately about, is each of, and this is public knowledge, each of the board members receive a $4,000 stipend. This next year, and I've talked to Kelly about this, talked to Justin about this, I'm going to be waiving my $4,000 next year. It's not quite a cup of coffee per day that some people are talking about. in other venues, but it is something that I directly can do and I feel very strongly about. So I'm letting the board know about that, and so we're going to chip away at that tax cap. And I am hopeful that next year, we're going to be able to continue to chip away from that. So that's what those are my comments. Thank you very much.
Let me just make a comment on, you mentioned next year, and this year we asked the town employees, or the town, what would I say, the town, department heads, et cetera, to give us a budget. Tell us what you need, give us a budget. Well, they did, and that came to $1.5 million over the last budget. $1.5 million over that. We spent the last 2 months trying to whittle that on down. And we did very good, as far as I'm concerned, did very good. We brought it down to 73,000, is it?
$74,000.
$74,000 over last year's budget. Now, I bring this up because we just mentioned next year. Well, whatever they asked for, I'm not saying they need it tomorrow. I'm not even saying they need it, but they did ask for it. They did say that they probably need, or they would like to have, et cetera, all those different words you can say. We're going to have one hell of a time putting together a budget next year, because this doesn't go away. If you've got an old truck, or better yet, an old police car, 150, 200,000 miles on it, and you asked for a police car and you didn't get it, I'm just using that as an example, and you didn't get it, you're going to need one. There's no getting around it. You're going to need one. And the things that they've asked for in the highway department, if they don't get it this year, they're certainly going to need it next year or the year following that. So I'm very happy that we could bring the budget down to a reasonable amount, although Jim wouldn't think it's reasonable, but that's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The harder we work to bring the budget down, the better it is for the people we represent. And I would never suggest that Jim was wrong on trying to curb the spending. That's what I got to say.
I just have a little something. So we all support each other, and all the things that I'm associated with, they either had a negative increase or 0.11% was the biggest increase in building and ZBA and whatnot. That's not to proclaim my heroics. You have a need in front of you, and the need has to be met. Now, I'm going to do something dangerous. We're involved with highway negotiations, and I've moved forward in talking with Tim McCabe today. And I'm going to announce some numbers that will probably get me in trouble, but the sanitation workers right now here make $24.17 an hour, and they're looking for a little bit more. So I did a little bit of research on other municipalities that pick up publicly, and today I had a very polite interaction with the town clerk in New Windsor, and I got their contract. Their lowest paid person makes $37 an hour to drive a sanitation truck up there. So in terms of, if people are wondering where all the money's coming from, since 9/11, a good number of jobs have gone to the public sector. The police have had increases, and they're probably justified, as well as a lot of other people. And in New Windsor, their increases are 3% per year for that particular thing. So when I was on the school board, for which I took no pay for 10 years, and traveled the country for impact aid, the teacher's contract was generally less than 2%, because they're 75% program of their budget. If you look at our budget and you try and stay under 2% for all these years, and if your labor force is, I don't know if it's 50% or whatever the amount it makes up the budget, and you stay at 2%, so that's equaling the 2% budget cap, what happens is it catches up to you over years. So the 2% is important. People want to see their taxes be kept in check. But I submit to you that when you have stuff before the 2% law came in that was already 20 years old, it's going to catch up to you after a while. And it did. So the 2% is important. I look at the need. We had a need for the ambulance corps, and we made the adjustment. And I think that I'm proud of that adjustment, and I think there's nothing in here that's fat, and we're trying to do something to get Long Pond back and keep the library afloat and all that. I see all those things as being a community need, and I'm proud of this piece of work.
Thank you.
And I would just chime in and say that I agree with all these gentlemen here. Everybody has a point of view that's theirs. And then as a bigger picture for those who are at home, for those in the audience, I would just say it comes down to what type of quality of life do we want here? Of course, we want to lower taxes. Of course, we don't prefer to be the highest taxed, municipality in Orange County. But at the same time, as we heard earlier, we went from $1 million plus down to 70,000 with a lot of hard work. Which that means is we're telling folks who ask for vehicles, who ask for equipment that's necessary in their minds, no. Over time and time again, we're saying no. And then it gets to the point where you can't say no any longer, or you're going to risk the quality of life, i.e., the ambulance corps, as we asked them to go back and look, and they did go back and look, and they said, we cannot budge another penny, because then we cannot do our jobs. So the residents at home need to understand that, is that we get to the point where it's, almost breaking point, where you can't perform critical duties. And so at that point, you may end up with 70,000 left that we have to say, okay, that is where we're going to stop at this point. So I'm okay with that, just like many others have said. And I think a lot of good work has been done during this season. I like the leadership from the supervisor, and I think that we're just going to continue with this board to get better at doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Rich, do you have anything?
I've mentioned it during the meetings that the tax cap is an artificial number that was generated by politicians up in Albany to make themselves feel good. It did not take into consideration the uniqueness of our community, our limited property that we can work with, and makes it that much more difficult to provide the services that the community wants, they expect. And I think that, as my position is, I would not want any town employee to go out and do a job without the proper equipment to do that job. And we all wrestled with the idea that we wanted to get the numbers down, but we reached a point where we realized it would not provide for those services to continue. So I respect everyone on the board. We had our discussions. We didn't always agree, but collectively, we worked on this, and we got it down to where it is. So,
Thank you. I have a motion to approve and a second. Roll call, please.
Hold, before you do that, I just want to make sure we know what we're voting on, right? Are we voting on the budget that I handed out to you last week that included the $4,000 for Jim's salary? Or are you voting to adopt the budget without that $4,000 in there? It would change the amount to be raised by taxes from $3,954,860 to $3,950,460. The difference is $4,400. So I just want to be clear on which one you're adopting.
Well, obviously, we're adopting the minus the $4,000.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear before you did your roll call.
Okay.
Okay.
Roll call.
Got it. Councilmember Sullivan?
Aye.
Councilmember King?
Aye.
Councilmember Perry?
Aye.
Councilmember Moblin?
no.
Supervisor Lipsey?
Aye. Be it resolved that the preliminary budget as revised and amended by the town board and hereafter set forth is hereby adopted as the annual budget of the town of Highlands for the fiscal year beginning January the 1st, 2022, and the same shall be entered into the minutes of the town board, and be it further resolved that the town clerk of this town shall prepare and certify, as provided by law, duplicate copies of said annual budget hereby adopted, and deliver such copies to the supervisor of the town, who shall present such copies of the annual budget to the legislature of the County of Orange as required by law. I have a resolution for a final adoption of the special district assessments, roles, and benefit formulas for the year 2022. Whereas the annual budget and special assessment roles for the town special districts and special improvement areas, namely Town of Highlands Water District 1, Town of Highlands Water District 2, and Town of Highlands Sewer Improvement Area for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2022, were prepared and filed with the clerk as required by law. Whereas a public hearing on the said budgets and assessment rolls as required by law was held by this town board, and the town board having met at the appointed time and place specified in notice of hearing, duly published by the town clerk, and all persons interested and desiring to be heard have been heard. I'll ask for a motion to move the resolution of the final adoption of special district assessments, roles, and benefit formulas for the years 2022.
I'll make the motion.
Seconded by Rich? Any questions, discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Sullivan,
Aye.
Councilmember King,
Aye.
Councilmember Perry,
Aye.
Councilmember Modlin,
Aye.
Supervisor Livesey.
Aye. Okay, rather than all be resolved, further resolved that the town clerk, Town of Highlands, prepare and certify in duplicate copies of said budget and assessment rolls as so adopted for presentation as required by law. Thank you. I have a resolution that you don't have in your minutes or anything like that. I just got it today, and you'll see when I get to the dates that I need to do it tonight. This was a resolution that was put out by the Orange County Legislature supporting Operation Green Light for active military service members in transition to civilian life. Whereas the residents of Orange County have great respect, admiration, and the utmost gratitude for all the men and women who have selflessly served their country and this community with the armed forces. Whereas the contributions and sacrifices of the men and women that have served in our armed forces have been vital in maintaining the freedoms and the way of life enjoyed by our citizens. Whereas 22,000 veterans currently reside in Orange County. Whereas the Town of Highlands seeks to honor these individuals who have paid the high price for freedom by placing themselves in harm's way for the good of all. And whereas the New York State's veteran population has decreased by 44% over the last 20 years. Whereas veterans continue to serve the community in the American Legion, VFW, church groups, civil service, and whereas approximately 200,000 service members transition into civilian communities annually, whereas the estimated 20% increase of service members will transition into civilian life in the near future, whereas studies indicate that 44% to 72% of service members experience high levels of stress during transition from military to civilian life, whereas 22 veterans a day commit suicide nationally, whereas active military service members transitioning from military service are at a high risk for suicide during their first year after military service. Whereas the Town of Highlands appreciates the sacrifices of our United States military personnel while defending freedom and believes specific recognition be accorded them in appreciation of their service and to demonstrate the honor and support that they have earned. Therefore, be it resolved that the Town of Highlands hereby declares November the 7th through November the 13th, 2021, a time to salute and honor the service and sacrifice of our men and women in uniform transitioning from active service, and designates the Town of Highlands as a green light military service town. Therefore, be it further resolved that in observance of Operation Greenlight, the town of Highlands encourages the citizens of the town of Highlands in patriotic tradition to recognize the importance of honoring all those who have made immeasurable sacrifices and helped to preserve freedom by displaying a green light in the window of their place of business or residence. I'll ask for a motion to move the resolution.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Oh,
Aye.
never mind. Roll call.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Aye.
Councilmember King.
Aye.
Councilmember Perry.
Aye.
Councilmember Moblin.
Aye.
Supervisor Lindsey.
Thank you.
Now that you've read the whole thing, Supervisor, it comes back to me that Orange County Legislator Tortel sent that to me last week around Thursday.
Yes, she called me up tonight about it.
Okay. Yeah, and I think they passed it last week
Yeah.
in the county.
So June, I'll give you this, and you can cross out the Orange County part of it. All right, what have I got left here? Any other business that we haven't got? Okay. General public comment, ready to,
Gentlemen, you may recall that last meeting, I requested certain information pertaining to the debt, including bonds and bans. And unfortunately, when Kelly went out to get the information, and by the time she returned, 3 speakers spoke for probably 30 minutes, all averse to the thing that we're voting on today, dissolution. And so I just ask respectfully if I may have that information tonight for the public and for me.
Kelly, you got it?
I do. The sewer district has 3,100,000.
Okay, Kelly, come on up to the microphone, that way the
Yep.
general public.
The sewer district has $3,119,597 of debt. The water district has $760,000 of debt, and the town has $353,956 of debt.
Okay, now, Kelly, while you're there, just to further explain it, every individual in town, outside the village, has 300 and some thousand dollars worth of
Right,
debt.
about 354,000.
Now, those individuals, unless they're in the sewer district or the water district, don't have anything to do with those debts.
Right, the sewer district only is charged to the people in the sewer district, and
Right.
the same for the water.
Yeah, I just wanted understood
Yeah.
that people that live up in Canterbury, that they only have the 300 and some thousand dollars worth of debt.
Correct.
They're not in the sewer district or the water district.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Kelly, is that both water districts, do you know, or just
Yes.
both water districts?
Water District 1 has no debt.
Okay.
Water District 2.
Water District 2, so the Sewer District and Water District 2 are almost synonymous with their boundaries.
Right.
And if my numbers come up right from the thing we did for the inspection last year, it's 385 parcels in the Sewer District paying for that,
That's right, about
Okay.
400.
and only them.
I do have one more thing too. Our highway superintendent asked if we could put on, declare the following item surplus. That would be a 15 horsepower, 3-phase Ballor sewer pump, one 7.5 horsepower, 3-phase Zoller sewer pump, one Bobcat skid steer model 773, and I have an ID number, one Bobcat snow blower attachment, model 2118, and I have a model number. Any questions on these?
No, if anybody, I'll just expound on the 2 sewer pumps. So at our sewer station up on Canterbury Road is not 3-phase, it's only 220 volts, there's no standby electric up there. That's something we're gonna try and do the year after next to upgrade that to have standby power. We don't have any full-time people. We don't have a 3-phase generator, so when a pump station goes down, it would be great to take one of these pumps with a crane on a town truck, lower it down, hook hook it up with quick connects to the outflow, which would have check valves on them, which they do, but there's nowhere to hook them up. To make all these pump stations do that would probably be about $25,000 worth of capital improvement work. And we only have part-time people. They're already working beyond what they should be working as it is. So we generally use TAM under contracted services. They're expensive, but that's just how we're structured because we don't have any full-time people. So those pumps are sitting down there doing nothing. That's why they're on surplus.
Okay. Any questions on anything else on this?
And just point out that, I mean, Pat is going to list them, and hopefully we'll get something
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah, yeah, he's going to
We're
put
not
them
giving
on
them away.
auction.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
I'll ask for a motion to approve putting that equipment on surplus.
Motion?
All in favor?
All right.
So carried, thank you. I will ask for a motion to go into executive session to confer with our attorney about Dr. Love's concerns and comments. Do I have a- All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Okay, for the general public, we do not intend to come back into a regular session. And we'll do the public, we'll do the